Do-do-do-do-do. Hey everyone, you're live on Professor Bats and Friends. Welcome to the show. Here we go.
What is happening?
What is going on?
Hey guys,
What a week. Holy cow. How's your week been?
It's been kind of white. There's a lot of snow.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last year we got 3 snowings. Most years we don't even get like a half of one, but this year we've got 3 full snows. And
Yeah.
I'll be dadgum if it didn't snow again on Friday.
Yeah.
And
Same here.
it's almost like we're living in Canada or something. I don't know. It's weird. But I mean, it just came down, and I got lots to do outside. I don't know about you, Tony, but I don't have an indoor shop like you do.
Yeah.
And so I have to work outside. So I think the last 3 times that I've had to do like major upgrades on the FJ and the trailer and all that, I've been outside with like a big snow coat on and all this other stuff, and it's just
Freezing
not
your
been
rear
fun.
off. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been one of those times.
Yeah. We got 3 days. 3 days. Well, actually 2 days now to
3
finish
days.
getting ready. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a big trip coming up. Here it is. Supposed to be spring here in March. And so they planned spring break in March, thinking it would be spring, but it's still winter. And got a week off from school, and we're going to take off and head east to the mountains,
Yeah.
where it's probably going to be cold and snowy.
It's probably just going to be rainy. Probably just going to
No.
rain all week.
No, it's not going to rain.
No.
I'm gonna wish that away. It's not going to be there. That's going to be in like North Carolina. That's where it's going to be. No rain. Mm-mm.
No.
I'm not allowing it.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
West Virginia is going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
I know you've never been there, but you've had a lot to do to get ready.
I still have a lot to finish. Yeah. I'm still trying to
Still
get
got a
this
lot to
trailer done. I got some stuff to do for the Gladiator and get packed and feeling the pressure.
Well, I hate that for you because since it did snow, I was able to get the FJ done. The trailer's already packed. All I gotta do is throw some clothes in a box and hook up to the trailer, and I'm out. So, you waited a little late to start your project.
Yeah.
Actually, you didn't wait late. You just decided.
I just figured out I needed it late.
and then decided, hey, I'll go on this trip with you, and then I'll build this trailer by the time that we leave. And it's like going to Walmart for some toilet paper and coming back with $200 worth of groceries.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
That's true.
Well, I think you're doing well getting all your stuff put together, though. The trailer is looking really good. I really wish you had some pictures to show everybody.
Yeah, I don't have anything uploaded. I've probably got something a little bit more current, but I didn't get time to get it uploaded to the show today.
Well, that's okay. Travis, thank you for joining us.
Yep.
We got some people coming on and joining us. Here we are right at the beginning. So I appreciate everybody who's coming in from anywhere and everywhere, and going to let us talk and share about our lives this week, and then talk to. This is the first time we've interviewed somebody from another country.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah. I'm excited about this. I did it on my podcast, but I haven't done it on the live show, and so this is a treat. This is a treat.
I
So
know.
I'm excited.
Mr. Mike, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, gentlemen?
We're good. We're doing good. For those of you that don't know, we've got Mr. Mike Offerhouse from MC Ranch Overland with us this evening.
Yeah.
All the way
Thank
from
you for
Florida.
joining us, Mike.
Yeah.
We appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you very much for thinking of me. That's awesome.
Well, I think of you often because you have created something that my wife has fell in love with, and recently on our last trip on the second snow, not the third snow, the second snow. I told her, I said, I've been in this house long enough. We've got to get out. We got to go somewhere. And we actually tried your product out, and it was better than I ever thought it would be. It just blew me away. So it's surprisingly cool, and we actually love it. And if my wife loves it, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
100%.
So
100%.
she said that thing's staying in the trailer. We're taking that with us everywhere we go. So that's one of those things. So we're glad that you came on here, and I'm interested to hear you talk about yourself and your product. And first of all, I'd like to get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, and where you're from.
Well, I was born in North Vancouver in British Columbia. And when I was 5 years old, my dad had a big engineering project in Holland. And my parents were originally from Indonesia, from Jakarta and Sumatra. So my dad and mother spoke fluent Dutch. So this project being in Holland, we moved from 1965 to 1969 to Den Haag in Holland. And then when we came back, we moved back to North Vancouver again, where I was born. And just spent most of my life here in BC. Haven't traveled that much. Most of my life I've been a construction superintendent, building high rises and building out spaces and a few custom homes when I had my own company. And but I've always, I love knocking around the bush. And back in the day, of course, it wasn't called overlanding, but my first 4x4 was a 1974 International Scout, yellow, with really skinny but super tall military tires and rims on it, so it looked really crazy. Well, not like it wasn't overdone; it was just actually just right.
Yeah.
And I had a 73 Cowie 900, which is the first super bike in the world. And a guy had turned it into a drag bike. And I wanted that bike so bad. So I ended up trading the truck for the bike, if you can believe it.
Oh,
At a barbecue.
Well,
So I had this
understand.
showroom condition International Scout. I traded for a full race drag bike, which wasn't even street legal. So yeah, anyway.
That's
Yeah,
interesting. Well, I'm a motorcycle guy, so I totally understand that. My wife rides her own bike, and I've got two motorcycles, so I completely understand falling in love with a motorcycle that everything else just doesn't even matter anymore. So I totally get that. Totally get that.
Yeah, I drove to the barbecue and took a taxi home. And then figured how to figure a way to get the bike home, which actually in those days, I think I just rode it on the street regardless and rode it home. But,
wow.
But yeah, I've owned a couple of Jeeps in the past, a TJ and not a CJ, but TJ, and what was the one after that now? There was the square headlights, the last model with the square headlights.
YJ.
And then, YJ.
Yeah.
And then a TJ. And then I got a nice Xterra. I was the first person that anybody put an ARB bumper on a supercharged Xterra. And I did a little bit of work on that. But I bought a ARB bumper that was actually made for a different truck, and I retrofitted it, and it looked like it came right off the vehicle. And that's right when my two boys were really, really young, and used to take them fly fishing in that, and catch the big 6-incher out of the little creek, and so that's kind of where I grew out of a little bit. Not that I didn't enjoy it as much, but to go hiking or mountaineering or backpacking, usually takes an entire weekend, and also some of those remote places you don't particularly want to leave your truck just parked in the middle of nowhere and head in the mountains for 2 days and come back. So I kind of, my mobility changed to having a practical vehicle that could get me out there and teach bushcraft skills to my kids, and share it through that. So
wow.
So the whole thing is if you can connect with people and share ideas and teach people and your kids, and
try to pass that on to your
try
kids.
try to pass all that on.
Yeah. Well, I remember taking my daughter, both of my daughters, out camping, and then when I got my motorcycle, we had a trailer we pulled behind it that we had a tent we put in there, and I ended up buying a pop-up camper that I pulled behind my motorcycle, and my daughter just absolutely loved that thing. And we would I'd pull her all over the place on our daddy-daughter weekends, and I taught her how to build a fire, and she loved playing in the fire and staying up late and roasting marshmallows, and she just absolutely loved it. And it was just one of those times where, Dad, when are we going camping again? Dad, when are we going camping again? So it's, you put that in them, and they just absolutely fall in love with it. And that's awesome. Sharing that with the next generation. And Tony's doing that now with his daughter. Mine are grown, and I'm thankful for that. But Tony's still got a little one at home, so they're taking her out everywhere. We actually got to camp with McKenna, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, my boys are well into their 20s, but I'm still lucky enough that they call me, sometimes several times a day, and on the weekend they still want to hang out. And I think it's a little bit of a different generation than with my dad and stuff. You always mad at them about something because there's too many rules, right?
Right.
But my boys, they just, one day they went out and they bought pipes. Like they spent like $150 on these custom made British pipes, like tobacco pipes, and they came over here with some amazing scotch and a cigar for me, and it's not like they abuse it in any way. It's not like we sit there and drink scotch all day long, but we just sit around, and now we sit around the fire reflector in the driveway with a little propane fire pit, and it doesn't matter if it's snowing or sunny or whatever. And it's pretty lucky to have kids that still enjoy spending time with you, and I certainly enjoy spending time with them. So
right,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, it's very cool to meet you. Very, very cool to get to know you a little bit better. And we've talked. I was actually at Tony's house, and Tony had my FJ tore completely apart the last time and first time I visited with you on the phone. And fortunately, that went well, and neither one of us died. So it was a successful weekend. And so I didn't get a chance to visit with you very much, and I know Tony was the one who actually reached out to you about your fire reflector and visited with you about that, and it was something that he became totally interested in, and he was like, man, I talked to this guy today, and he's got this product, and it's so cool. You've got to see this. I mean, he keeps it right there beside him, so he's always, it's like he sleeps with it. I don't know what the deal is, but so getting back to what you actually do, and if people are watching on the screen, they can actually see one in our background. That's what we're going to be talking about, the original fire reflector. But you called your business, you called the name MC Ranch Overland. Where did that come from?
So my wife and I both really love country music, but we also like the older cowboy music. And I don't know if you've heard of Ian Tyson, but Ian Tyson is a very famous Canadian Albertan rancher, orator, and also a songwriter. and he wrote a song about a ranch that's in southeast Oregon called, I think it's Able, Oregon, and it's called the MC Ranch. And at one point, that ranch was the biggest ranch in the U.S., and it had quite a history behind it. So, like Ian Tyson, they call him a cowboyography, basically. Like his stories and his songs tell stories of ranching and the cowboy lifestyle and things like that. And so Carol and I used to sing the song in the truck every time it would come on. And it seems like the MC Ranch used to sell horses once a year, and they probably trained them, being such a big ranch, and maybe cutting horses. I have no idea. I don't know all the history. But it was a bit of an iconic name. And then with me, Michael, and Carolyn, that's MC. And because Carolyn loves to entertain so much, and we've lucky enough that we rented some big properties over the last few years, we would have people over and cook in the backyard with the Dutch ovens and just have a great community. So we kind of became a term of endearment, MC Ranch. And then the overlanding thing started happening, and I was working on this project and inventing the original fire reflector, and we basically incorporated the company and called it MC Ranch Overland Inc. So yeah, that's the history of the name of it.
Wow.
So it's basically Mike and Carolyn Ranch Overland. So
Nice.
So we're not ranchers. I don't have a ranch, but we love the lifestyle. We love the how authentic cowboys tend to be and stuff, and the music is humble. And I like all sorts of music. I listen to rock and everything else as well. But anyway, yeah. And by the way, you guys, I love some of the music you guys put on your videos. It's definitely high energy. Love it.
Well, thank you very much.
Got to wake people up every now and then. So
yeah, for sure.
Oh man, that's cool. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us. That was one of the things I was very interested in, is how you come up with the name. So, when did what really attracted what was the attraction of overlanding to you? What brought you to it? Was it your past, or just something that you were just interested in?
I think they just changed the word of things that we were doing anyways, when back in the 70s and 80s. Overlanding back then, no, they didn't have the rooftop tents, but we did have the Warren winches and the big incandescent KC daylight, big chrome lights on the bumpers or light bars of our vehicles. And we didn't have a box on the back of the truck. Even we just sleep literally in the box of the pickup truck in a sleeping bag. And
we used to have a tarp over ours, but yeah.
And we lived by a mountain called Grouse Mountain, and at the time the road that went to the top of the mountain was open until it became too popular. And as high school people, we would basically literally drive up there, middle of nowhere, have a bonfire, stay up all night, sleep in front of the fire. And I guess that's where the overlanding became, where it all started.
We were overlanding before overlanding was a thing.
Yeah. And then there's a couple places, Braylorn is pretty far in the mountains, and there was a road called the Hurley Road, and it wasn't paved, pretty rugged. You could only get through it with a skidoo in the wintertime, and everybody would roll up with I had my 74 Scout, and people with the CJ5s and 7s and their FJ40s. And we all had our Bowie knives on our belts, and we were just real mountain men with our plaid Macs on, and and listening to Leonard Skinner, and we just head out. So I think today it's just become more inclusive, because as the fire reflector demonstrates, when people are comfortable, regardless of what activity they're doing, the better it is for the community that's with you, whether it's your family or friends, or or even strangers, right? So building an overland vehicle gives you and exudes kind of a level of safety and comfort, and especially for wives or people that are lay to the topic of overlanding, where they might be nervous otherwise to put themselves in that kind of a situation.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I agree. I don't think overlanding is anything new. I think it's a new term that came out just a few years ago. But I'm watching. I actually just finished a series on Paramount Plus called 1883. Faith Hill and Tim McGraw were in that, and it's just a story of a group of people that's traveling by wagon from Texas, trying to get to Oregon, end up in Montana. But I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. They've got their horses, they got their wagons, they got their food, they got everything that they own with them, and they travel for a day, and they stop, set everything up, cook, spend the night, get up the next day if they want to. They take off again and go as far as they want to, and stop and take off again. And some of the scenery is just beautiful, and the things that they encounter and the wildlife. I mean, it's nothing new. It's just a new term that's out there, and we do it differently today than what they did back then. But all the new gear that's out there and the new toys that Tony gets UPS has them knows his address by heart these days. So it's a good thing Tony lives in a cul-de-sac. Otherwise, he'd be blocking the street with UPS and FedEx and everybody else stopping at his house to deliver stuff. It's pretty funny.
It's been pretty
silly
lately.
Everything he got today. So
We've got some
anyway,
amazing.
I just think it's just a new term. It's just a new way of describing what's been done for hundreds of years, and I think it's amazing, and I absolutely love it. But you have one of my favorite vehicles in the world. You have a Toyota Tacoma, and you have outfitted this thing like crazy. So I want you to describe how you have taken a regular, ordinary Tacoma and have made it into an overlanding vehicle. Tell us about that.
So I was lucky enough. I was driving to work 4 o'clock in the morning to a construction site, and I went past a Honda dealer, and that Honda dealer had a which looked like a stock 2016 Tacoma access cab, desert tan. That's it right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically how I bought it, and I saw it. I drove by it, and then on the weekend I said to my son, "Let's go look at it for fun." So we went and looked at it and didn't realize that it had like 14 grand worth of stuff done to it, and the dealership didn't know either.
Oh,
So
wow.
it had welded on rock sliders. It had an ARB compressor under the hood. It had a Southwest style front bumper with a Warren winch in the front. Had the rear bumper already. I'm just trying to think of the brand now, but had the rear bumper, and it had SCS wheels, which are very desirable for Toyota lovers and Jeep lovers. Actually, they only make wheels for Jeeps and for Tacomas or for Toyotas. And then also had my favorite tires on there. It had the 255/85 R16s, which are only 9.5 wide, but they're 33.5 inch tall. And I love that cookie cutter kind of military look. And and then to top it off, it had a manual transmission. So it had 4,000 original kilometers on it. And the gentleman who traded it in, his wife was having a baby, so they bought a Honda minivan, and he didn't even get a chance to use it. So I went under there with my tactical light and looked inside the bumpers and every crevice. Everything was completely clean and brand new. So yeah, and then I got it at a steal, like way less than you'd pay for a new one, and it had all these things done to it already. So that was kind of the bones of it, but it needed more. Again, if I built an overland vehicle from scratch, honestly, I'd start with the brakes. I would put 6-piston calipers all the way around. That'd be the very, very first thing I'd do. And then the last thing I'd do would be the suspension. I'd do it the other way around. But that's only if you can do the build continuously until it's done, right? But normal people like us that work and don't have 50 grand to throw around into their truck, you kind of piecemeal it together. Right. And so some people go for the pretty stuff first, and I like to think I go for the practical stuff. But yeah, so started chipping away at it, and yeah, got a habitat, AT Overland habitat, and it was only used as a display model, and I got that at an amazing discount. So I started by putting that on it, and I put my two ham radios in it. One's a UHF VHF, and the other one is strictly an HF that runs a high Q military antenna. And then I welded on and built my own tire carrier for the back, and then repurposed the aluminum box, which you'll see in the pictures in the back, to keep my chainsaw and my dynamic recovery gear, but not my winching stuff, because you hardly ever use that. So that's on one of the aluminum boxes on the roof. I bought a Prinsu roof rack for it, and this particular model doesn't come with the plus nuts in the rails. Yeah, so that's it with the old habitat on there, and you can see that's in the corner is the high Q antenna. My friend Charlie would sell all the military antennas to the U.S. Navy, to the U.S. Army. You see these on the Hummers in Afghanistan, and also to the South Korean and the Australian military. So it's really cool because it doesn't matter where I am in the world. It's not like I can get a hold of anybody specific necessarily, but I can always get a hold of someone somewhere.
That is the gnarliest antenna I have ever seen in my life on a vehicle. That thing is beefy.
Yeah,
it's so cool looking.
Yeah, it actually has a U.S. patent, military patent on the side of it on a sticker. And how you can see the whip bent over in that photo, a lot of lay people would think that that's how you store your antenna, but that's actually called NIVIS, which is near vertical incident skywave. So when you have a vertical antenna, the takeoff angle to the horizon is usually around 15 degrees. But with this NIVIS configuration, which the military uses, and I use a lot as well, the signal goes up to the ionosphere and bounces back for close range. So anything up to maybe 600-700 miles kind of thing. So, so in this configuration is for short range, comparatively speaking. And then in vertical, I could talk to Japan and, all over the world, basically.
Wow.
So
that is so cool.
But that little aluminum box on the back there, I've got, like I said, my chainsaw and my chainsaw chaps and, things like that. And I also keep some of my extraneous combustible fluids in there. So it's not actually sitting inside the camper.
Okay. I love the AT habitats. We actually interviewed the guy who started that company, and he told the story about how they got into that. But the way that those campers are built, they're so rugged and made so well.
They build the panels like a composite, so they're actually like 1 inch thick. So there's like a structural egg crate sandwiched between two layers of aluminum, and the construction really is excellent on them. The nice thing about them is you leave your tailgate on, and when you empty your stuff out of it, if you don't actually build out your camper, you can still use your vehicle as a pickup truck, which now that I've built out my alu cab, you really can't do that as much. But as much as I think this is a top line, beautiful product and incredibly lightweight at 360 pounds, when you open it, it's all tent. And living here in the Pacific Northwest, cold temperatures and the snow, I had a furnace in mine. I think in that photo, you can see the chimney sticking out just by the orange at the top, a Dickinson 9000 furnace. So what happened is if you're out in the cold, -10 out, snowing, it heats up the tent. Now the snow freezes onto the tent, and then it's very difficult to put it away. So I would think that camper is more conducive to people that are a little bit in warmer climates, central U.S., desert states, California, stuff like that. But yeah, an amazing product, and I was very pleased with it.
Wow.
But since then, you have changed, correct? You've changed your camper top?
100%. I had it on sale, for sale all last summer, and I had 2 or 3 people that wanted it, but they ended up not purchasing it. In the 11th hour, I had a guy come up and offer me an offer I could not refuse, and that actually paid the difference between getting my Alucab. So other than the labor of installing it, no money changed hands at all.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm incredibly pleased with the Alucab.
This is the current setup, correct?
That's it. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, literally the tent is 2 latches and it's up.
Right.
The inside, I've built it out now. So my fridge is in the back. I have a wrap-on green electric toilet in the back. And then I built a couple of benches in the back. And all my tools are stored in the bench that's directly behind the back window. So it's centered on the vehicle and as low as it could possibly be. So that's where all the weight is in the vehicle. So that worked out really well. And then I upgraded. I put Radflow shocks in the back and coilovers in the front, and then Elcan expedition grade leaf springs in the back. And then for highway use, I put airbags in anticipation of I might pull a trailer one day for some reason, even if it's just a utility trailer, but also for stability on the highway if you have to, do an avoidance maneuver. The airbags are nice to give that, that stiffness to the vehicle.
That is that's an amazing vehicle. Amazing vehicle. I love it. Alucab is way up there in quality, if not one of the best or the best that I've seen as far as quality goes. Aaron, with Artemis, one of our sponsors, actually has one in his shop. He actually has that same camper in his shop, and I've been in that thing all over it. I've climbed all over it, and I've touched every square inch of it. And I keep telling my wife, I think we may need a Tacoma for some reason. I don't know. I'm just feeling it.
Well, one thing, if you buy a Tacoma, you need to re-gear it. I put 529s in front and back. So most people go a little bit more subtle, I think 388s, but the automatic transmission is absolutely terrible if you don't change the gearing. But I really believe in the vehicle sympathy. And if you're pulling, like, I'm 7,000 pounds expedition weight. It's with 2 people, all fluids, liquids, water, whiskey. And like I said, that those 529 gears, my gas mileage went way up, and it's just so much more sympathetic off road. You're going down something steep, put in low range, don't touch the brakes. All the tires and wheels are at the same disadvantage. So they basically, you don't touch your brakes. It's awesome. So I really, really recommend that to anybody that builds up a Tacoma.
Yeah, I've got an FJ Cruiser, and I just did a re-gear of mine to 488s, and it makes a huge difference in mine. And I'm heavy. I'm heavy as well. I've got mine completely rigged out, and everybody asks me all the time, how much that thing weigh? And I'm like, I don't want to weigh it. I don't want to know how much it weighs. But I get asked that all the time, and they're like, you're over your gross vehicle weight rating, and I was like, it's got everything on it that I want, so it's I'll just re-gear it and go on down the road. It does just fine. I'm fixing to. In fact, when we take off on Saturday morning, if I don't drive it between now and then, I'll hit within 28 miles of being 200,000 miles. So it's exactly how I want it, and I'm not going to change anything. So I love how the Tacomas are, especially with the Alucab Canopy campers on there. They look really good. They fit well, and they're so easy to set up. And as old as I am, I know you're a little bit older than I am. Tony and I are really close in age. But the older I get, the easier I want. And I don't want something I'm going to have to fiddle with for a long period of time and have to, I break a sweat setting up or taking down. I want it easy. And that's going to make it where I want to go more. And
100%.
With that being easy to get in and out of, easy to set up, easy to take down, I can imagine that makes it where you really actually want to get out and use it. And
unfortunately, the last couple of years have been kind of challenging for travel, especially here in Canada. And so I haven't camped in it yet. I've picnicked in it, I've been able to kind of use everything in it and just, vet it. And yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to getting out in it for sure. It takes about 60 seconds to put the tent up, and it takes maybe a minute and a half to put the little spring steel tensions in the awning for the tent, like that little, the little cover in the back.
Yeah.
And then the big 280-degree awning, like if it takes you more than 45 seconds to put that up, you're doing it wrong. And then there's another 45 seconds to put the rain gutter in that connects the back of the truck to the awning, so any rain doesn't fall in between there when you're exiting the back of the truck, and it just gutters off to the side, which is super cool. But yeah, that awning is just something else. I didn't realize when I bought it, I kind of was thinking, oh, I'm going to get these really cool tent pegs, and then I'm going to get, some quality bank line and make my own, tie downs and everything for it, because, I'm very conscious that, as good as they are, you should tie them down before you go to bed. And lo and behold, it comes with all that, ballistic nylon webbing and it's stainless steel, stakes, amazing. And
Cool.
It's got all the keyways where you can slide a 5/16 bolt in and build anything onto the truck that you want, like the gas can that I mounted on the side. And that's something I'm really pleased with, actually. That gas can is with a front runner a holder, but I mounted in such a way that the can can't lift out or be stolen. But I put it on the non-exhaust side of the truck. So if there was ever a catastrophic failure with that gas can, my truck wouldn't burn down. But the other thing it is, the nozzle from that and my gas tank on my truck is only 4.5 feet apart. So I can just put my siphon hose in the gas can and just put it right in my gas tank, and I'm filling up my truck just like that. I don't even have to pick this thing up. So I like those little design things. I don't like building too many things into a vehicle. Things are very expensive: ham radios, jackeries, echo flows, all those type of things. And because I'm interested in survival, your kit, a lot of pieces in your kit, you want them to have at least 2 uses. So when I bought my echo flow and the detachable solar panel that comes with it, it's one kind of kit. I took that in consideration that maybe I'm going to come over to your camp for a few hours. We want to listen to music, so I'll carry it over to your camp. Or maybe I'm at home and there's a power failure at my home. I can use it in my home. So, and also if I have the very fancy red arc system and everything built into the vehicle, if something needs to be repaired, your vehicle's down. But with the Echo Flow or a Jackery, you can just take it out, and just send it away and get it fixed or fix it yourself. But you just have so much more latitude with your gear, and you get so much more value out of it, I find.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Tony and I both have. He's got the EcoFlow. I've got the Jackery. We never leave home without them, because it seems like we're always having to plug something in. Always.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're taking a drone, if you've got a camera, cell phone, you're always having to plug something in. So that's definitely.
Well, I've got a 45-liter.
Sorry, Mike. That was a little joke. They were Joey and Porker were going back and forth earlier today about what cookware they were going to take, and I just chimed in and said I was going to bring the microwave. It's kind of a joke, but anyway.
Yeah, and when it comes to us camping, we talk more about food and what we're going to cook with than we do anything. So that comes up a lot. Everything. And Tony has the biggest flowery cooking pot that you've ever seen. It's massive because he always wants to do a crab boil when we go, and he always brings the most beautiful pot. So he wins the most beautiful pot award at every camp that he ever goes to.
I brought it
and so
one time.
It's just so beautiful, but it cooks amazing crab.
Yes.
But we were talking about bringing, different things to cook with. He said, I'm bringing a microwave because it'll fit inside my giant pot. So.
You didn't bring a microwave, did you?
No. That was just a joke.
That would be a good test for that EcoFlow, though. See how many minutes it would run that microwave.
Don't dare me.
I've got a little tiny rice cooker, and I just took it out of my kit, but I think I might put it back in, but I've never actually used it. But,
that intrigues me because I've seen Marco use this rice cooker. I don't know how many times, and every time he makes something that's Asian or Mexican or something that has to do with rice, he's like, I just put it in my rice cooker here and take it out and it's done. I'm like, that's so cool that you can do that in the middle of nowhere.
And the thing nice about those rice cookers, they have, it's a modern version of Teflon that's healthier than, the old-fashioned Teflon. But all you need is a paper towel to wipe it afterwards, and it's completely clean. It's not like you've got rice, globbed all over your cast iron pots, and it takes you a year to get it off, and you ruin the finish on your cast iron. It's not.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
A couple times.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, we love our cast iron. We've got a Camp Dutch oven, a large 12-inch one that you put the briquettes on the lid, and then we've got the one without the lip, and then we've got the little French one, the ones that are like the porcelain, not the porcelain, but the enamel. They're quite beautiful, and usually people use them only in their homes, but in the old days they used to use them, on campfires as well, and I use mine on a campfire. So.
That's awesome. Does your wife go with you when you go out on trips? Very much,
as much as possible. Yeah, 100%.
Awesome.
So it's just, again, since we've had this set up and starting with MC Ranch Overland, and we've had so much community support, and but again, the last 2 years has been hard on everybody world over, and it affected us as well. So we didn't go, even though I had a table booked for the last 2 expos in Arizona. I couldn't go to either one of them, and couldn't go to the Moore Expo, and haven't been able to go visit Marco or Casey or, Michael and Corey from Overland Bound are supporting us. We're on their online store, and if I could get across the border, I'd drive down next week and start visiting. But just haven't been able to do that. But
hopefully that'll change pretty soon. Hopefully.
Yeah, things will realign. They always do. The truth will set you free.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
So, but I've got a 200-watt solar panel on the roof. And when I went for a picnic with my son the other day, we just had 3 tall boys in the fridge in a 45-liter angle, but I set it to -18. And on an overcast day, I didn't lose 1% of juice out of my EcoFlow. So that wasn't even a sunny day.
Wow.
And the EcoFlow came with a 100-watt panel as well. So there's a 200-watt on the roof, but I've got the extra auxiliary 100-watt. So I made my own 30-foot auxiliary cord, and it goes into a splitter. And if I want, what I normally do is I'll point, my camper opens up into a V. So if you point the panel directly to the sun, which is generally south, you get the most energy onto your 200-watt solar panel. But if you're facing that way, then the morning sun is coming in from the other side, basically from the northeast. So it allows me to set up that last 100-watt panel facing that other direction. And I got all the power I need.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well,
solar
is something you want to tap into, that's for sure.
I know it. It's exciting. I just put 200-watt panels on the trailer today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So just trying to get all that figured out and wired in and mounted, and got 2 days to finish.
Oh my goodness, I love it. Oh, we got some superstars on here. Kara from Ozark Overland Adventures is here, and Misty just joined us from The Day We Make. They have Kara has her own show, probably coming on at 9:00 tonight, so make sure and tune into that. And Misty has hers on Thursdays with Lady Overlander Radio. And is it still Women's Month? It's still Women's Month, isn't it? National Women's Month or something like that. I don't know. I celebrate the ladies every day. So thank y'all for being here.
Yeah.
We appreciate y'all joining us. We got a few more things to talk about. We have want to jump into the original fire reflector here in just a minute, and a few more questions I have for Mike. But we're going to take just a little break. I'm going to get something from my voice because I'm starting to cough, and we'll be right back in just a second.
Hi, I'm Barry Henderson with Turtleback Trailers.
I'm Adam with Okie Overland.
This is John with Long Creek Overland.
I'm Drew with Rosquash Design. I'm Casey with US Action Tracks.
Hi, I'm Joe.
And I'm Misty from The Day We Were Made.
Hi, I'm Jeremiah from Overland Pioneer.
Hi, we're Jessica and Jorge, the Limerick Wonder.
It's Chris from More Expo.
I'm Misty from Lady Overlander Radio.
You're watching.
And you're watching.
And you're watching.
You're watching.
Are watching.
So you're watching.
And watching Professor and Friends.
Professor and Friends.
Professor and Friends.
Joey the Professor and Friends.
Professor and Friends.
Professor and Friends.
To the Professor and Friends.
Professor and Friends.
Professor and Friends.
Sponsored by Artemis Overland Hardware. More Expo, April 8th through the 10th, 2022 in Springfield, Missouri. Tack Farm, Blue Sail Coffee Roasters, Linson Solar, Howling Moon Tents and Awnings, Big Iron Overland Rally, June 10th through the 12th, Mountain Hatch, Lifesaver Water Filters, MC Ranch Overland, Snowmaster Frigid, Eco Flow, Timbo Tuss Scottles, Dial Dynamics Lighting, and our good friends at Midland Radio. Thank you for joining us. We're glad that you're here. No pros, just bros on this show. Here we go.
That always cracks me up.
Yeah, it does. It does me too. I can't wait for more Expo. I'm going to get a few more of those. So I really I always thank everybody for doing those for me and taking time out of their whatever they're doing, usually after about 3 or 4 whiskeys, and everybody's willing to do it. So.
Right.
Well, Mike, every time we come on this show and interview somebody and we ask them what their dream trip would be, almost everybody says Alaska. So my dream trip, or one of my dream trips, is to go up to Canada, all the way across Canada up into Alaska. And if I were to do that, tell me some places in Canada that I want to stop at, that I do not need to miss.
Well, that's a bit of a trick question because we haven't traveled that much in Canada, to be quite honest. I spend most of my time going through BC, but my wife and I traveled to Banff maybe 9 years ago, and it's a ski town, right? And little pubs and very average little restaurants and stuff. But we had a motel and we had our own little jacuzzi, and we looked out over onto Banff, and it was basically the holiday was more of a date than anything else. And but it's a beautiful place to see. First of all, when you come into Alberta, the speed limit goes down to 80 kilometers an hour throughout the rest of most of Canada. It's up to 100, 120 kilometers an hour. So. And the police in Alberta are a little bit more like the U.S. police. They don't have a big sense of humor for people who speed. So when you drive into Alberta and everybody's driving that speed, it is so relaxing. It's so nice because you're not doing this pole position all the time. Oh, I just passed those 8 cars. Oh, but I gotta go to the washroom, pull over here. Yeah, but then all these people are gonna pass me. It's just not like that. So I really love that. And there's also it's cowboy country, right? There's horses and there's mountains and there's jack pines and it's just absolutely beautiful. So, like I said, we traveled to Banff. We didn't go to the Columbia ice fields, but that's supposed to be really special too because it's one of the few places you can drive at the elevation where there's actually glaciers and stuff like that. British Columbia is a lot more rugged here. It's wetter. You see, the thing with, just make a comparison. In the United States, you can drive from state to state. So you can have a destination, but you can drive over a mountain range to get there. Like your logging roads and your off-roads actually take you somewhere. Here in British Columbia, 99.99% of the logging roads are actually devised from the logging industry. So most of them end somewhere, or they get decommissioned and there's no maintenance done on them anymore. And my friend Sean from the Story Till Now, they're always exploring to the limits. But those aren't recreational roads. Those are, most of the time, those are logging roads, and they've been decommissioned for years, and there's washouts and nobody comes to fix it. So it's a pretty rugged environment.
Now, do you have national forests up there? Do you have land that's owned by Canada used for recreational purposes?
Yeah, like we have a park close by here called Garibaldi Park, another one called Manning Park, and they're highly conserved alpine parks for cross-country skiing, mountaineering, ice climbing, all those, skiing, mountain biking, all those type of things. And depends on the elevation and what time of year it is, your sport or your recreation of choice, will change. But those parks are spectacular. But you're walking in. There's no motorcycles, there's no dirt bikes, there's nothing basically. So if you want to get into the wilderness that way, but unfortunately, some of the parking areas, I mentioned it before, to get to these places, you're leaving your vehicle, and to leave a vehicle like mine in that remote of a spot for a long weekend and do a hike or a backpack like that isn't a great idea. It's better just to have a $500 old Toyota beat up, 4-cylinder car and take that and leave it empty or even unlocked. But so it makes it difficult for us to explore in that way when you have your overland vehicle with you. But we have absolutely stunning parks here. Everything about Canada is amazing that way. But I have not had the privilege to drive across Canada, and it's definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah.
So what would be a dream trip for you if you were able to get away right now, go anywhere, take your Tacoma anywhere? Where would you take it? What would be your dream trip?
My dream trip, if I could take my Tacoma, and I would never do it, would be to go to Africa, while you still can. But I know that sending a vehicle, that far probably wouldn't be worth it. So if I did go to Africa and get to see what I wanted to see, I'd be, have to hook myself up with a vehicle when I get there. But honestly, a dream trip for me right now would be to chase some of the Overland Expos as they come up in the U.S. based on whatever schedule there may be, and visit the very important people in my life that have helped us so much over the last 2 years, like Peter and Carol from the Epic Family Road Trip, and visit Michael and Corey from Overland Bound, and Marco and Brad from Trail Recon, and just shake these people's hands and because if you see somebody on YouTube and you've been watching them for 5 years and they don't know you, it's like they're a movie star to you, or some some amazing celebrity, and they don't know you from Adam, but they've been part of your life for years and years and years, right?
Yeah, right.
But these YouTube channels gave us a chance, and also like Field Vans USA, which used to be Sportsmobile, we're on their online store. So one of the reasons that they put us on their online store is that we're so much about community and family, and they're a family business, and they've done me the favor of putting my product on their online store. I think I'd like to go down there and actually meet that family and see their facility, and sort of be a little bit of payback, and meet people, and the people that are already part of the community, just put a bow tie on it by saying, hey, I actually went and saw that guy. So, cook a meal with Marco. That'd be unbelievable, right?
Oh my God.
I would probably, I would say, don't even open up your truck. Put up your tent. Carol and I are cooking for you tonight. Like, just because he's on every show, he's the chef, right? And it'd be fun to go down there and just cook for him and see if he enjoys that. So but I think that would be my funnest thing. Carolyn and I, we went to Cannon Beach in Oregon, and we went to Bend, Oregon, which we absolutely loved a few years ago. I don't know, about 4 years ago now. We love Oregon.
I agree.
It's stunning. It has a little bit of everything. It's got the desert. It's got the mountains. It literally has everything. The people are amazing, and it's also kind of got that cottage environment. When you look at these signature stores like Snow Peak. They have their signature store in Portland, for example, right? And all those type of stores are really nice to visit. And or Filson, Filson making
Wilson, yeah.
Filson, right? They're out of Seattle, right? And so I've been wearing their stuff for most of my life, at least it's when I could afford it, when I got a little bit older.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'd love to go down and see their facility and meet these guys, right? Show them what I do and see what they do. And
that'd be a big trip.
Yeah,
that'd be a big trip.
Lots of places to hit.
Yeah, well, I'm reckoning I'm 61 now, and hopefully I'm good till about close to 100. So hopefully I'll have enough time in there to. Eventually, my kids, if MC Ranch Overland, when we make it a success, my kids can chauffeur me in my truck.
There you go.
There you go. There you go. That's awesome. Well, speaking of MC Ranch Overland, we've been going on for almost a little over 50 minutes talking about you and different things, but I want you to share your product with us, where it came from, what made you think of it, and kind of the process of how you developed it and why.
So with knocking around the woods all my life, we used to do a lot of bushcrafting, and we used to do the thing where you put the 2 poles or 4 poles in the ground, then you stack some wood in front of your fire to create a bit of a heat sink. So it wouldn't really reflect heat, but it would get warm and it would reflect heat back to you. The same analogy is, building a fire by a rock wall, and the rock wall becomes a heat sink and the heat comes back to you. Then when I was a little bit older, I started volunteering for search and rescue. And what was happening here, especially in the winter seasons where it seems to be the busiest, we would get flown in with a helicopter in the evening, but you couldn't make it out with I'm going to call them victims. They're not always hurt. Some they're just lost or whatever, but you can't always make it out that same night. So years ago, I thought of a way that you could create a nest to keep your community warm when you're kind of hunkering down through the night. And that kind of went dormant. And then one day, 3.5 years ago, I just had a light bulb moment. I didn't have a pad of paper. I just had the cardboard 11.5 by 17 on the back. And I started sketching, and I sent it to my aluminum manufacturer. And I asked him to make one of these for me. And at the time, they were costing me just under $700 Canadian to have the first 4 built. Aluminum is very expensive. CNC machining is expensive. The finishing is expensive. It's pretty unbelievable, actually, when you really start building things, how the numbers add up quickly.
Yeah.
So I had some prototypes made, and that was the first time that Carolyn and I went to Cannon Beach. And relatively close to Cannon Beach is a beach called Gearhart Beach. And it's one of the few beaches in Oregon you can still drive on. And I didn't have my patent pending yet. And the world hadn't seen this before, and it was my invention. So we drove about 15 miles up the beach to a hidden location on a cold day, and I actually tried it for the first time. And because we were celebrating, we poured a couple of bourbons, and Carolyn was there in a summer dress, but it was a windy beach and an overcast day, and she was about 15 feet from the fire in a summer dress and completely warm. And I just knew we had something at that point. We were really stunned how it was working. And the difference with the fire reflector, it's not a heat sink. It doesn't get hot. It's not absorbing heat and reflecting it back. It works off the principles of a parabolic arc and with the properties of aluminum. So just like those antennas that point into the night sky, and they've got the piece in the middle, which is the fulcrum where all the radio waves go, this is sort of the same idea. So when you set it up in a parabolum or a parabolic arc, it reflects heat off those principles, and it, instead of the heat going straight up, it basically rockets back towards you. And even with a very modest fire, you can feel the heat 15, 20 feet away. The other nice thing about it is if your family has one in my family, we could use yours for cooking and mine for the campfire, but later you can blend 2 of them together and create a bigger nest for more people, more community. But so it reflects the heat, reflects the light, creates community. It creates a controlled cooking environment in windy conditions. You can approach the fire reflector from the backside when you're cooking, and then you don't get the heat from the fire on your legs or your feet. So there's a bit of a safety element there. And of course, it doesn't get hot. So if a child were to touch it or a dog walks by it, it won't spontaneously combust.
And that's because of the aluminum, right? Instead of it being stainless or something else, it's the aluminum that doesn't absorb the heat.
Yes, correct. And you're not counting on it being a heat sink. So the fire reflector sits a reasonable distance away from the fire. You never want the flames licking or touching the fire reflector. You've got a good two solid feet there. Set it up in an arc, and bless you. and the heat just goes back. And then when the night falls, the flickering light and lighting up your campsite. So you don't need any LED lights anywhere. Maybe one headlamp you might wear, and you can navigate your campsite, and it's just heartwarming. It creates a nest, and we do this one thing, and my kids are sick of me doing it, but we'll be sitting in front of it for an hour or so, and then I'll get up and just take it away. Dad, you've already done that 100 times, but when you take it away after you've used it for 10, 15 minutes, half an hour, you really get that light bulb moment. The entire experience is gone. The nest is gone. Everything beyond the fire psychologically feels like the abyss. So you kind of look into the dark. It doesn't have that captivating feeling. Yeah. And people just love it. And the thing that's really special about it is women can stand cold weather and warm weather just like we can, but generally, women tend to get a little bit colder, or kids get colder around the campfire. When people are comfortable in that environment and really comfortable, they become more extroverted because they're more relaxed and they're enjoying themselves. That just makes the conversations that much better. The stories you tell are so much more meaningful because you're like in a womb, you're home, and that is a very special thing. An analogy that I use: remember when we were younger and going to house parties, where did everybody end up? In the kitchen, right? They always ended up in the kitchen where the food was and the warmth was, and this is sort of the same thing when you go camping and you're with your family or your community, your best friends, whoever it may be. The campfire is sort of the holy grail at the end of the day. So this accentuates that entire experience. Sam Devlin, my amazing business partner, who had hired me at my last company as a senior construction superintendent, he termed the phrase the arena of engagement. It creates this arena, and we just love that. So we've kind of coined that phrase. And the fire reflector is the arena of engagement, and it just creates an incredible memory. So, pretty happy with how it's turned out. And the support and the reflection that we're getting from our community is amazing. It's almost like I wrote some of these reviews myself, but I certainly haven't. I'm very grateful for every last one of them. So,
Mike, you were telling me as part of the manufacturing process, there was a something that they did that would smooth the edges.
So
what was that called?
It's a flatter machine.
Flatter, that's right.
FLADER, and it's like I don't know how much it's worth, maybe $500,000. I really don't know, but it's like a grinding machine that was originally designed for prepping surfaces for painting, and it makes everything very cohesive, and it almost gives it's kind of like a shark skin look that's on it, but it also rounds off and quarter rounds all the corners, and there's the caricature of the fire that we CNC water jet cut out of it. Well, those edges would have been sharp otherwise.
Yeah.
When you flatter it, everything is just like satin. Like you can touch any part of this. It's actually quite beautiful to touch.
That's what got me. Whenever I pulled it out, I was like, holy cow, this is really, really nice. I mean, sharp edges, it doesn't absorb heat. It's safe. I mean,
That was one of the things that really impressed my wife when we first used it the first time. She reached out and touched it. She said, "This thing isn't even hot." And the finish on it is what really drew me to it. It was almost like it was polished, and there were no sharp edges on it. And when you pull a piece of metal out of a bag, you think, "Oh, I need to be careful with this, or it's going to cut me." But there's no place on there that's like that. It's all like you said. The machine does a great job of rounding it off, making it where it's not sharp on any of the edges. And the finish is amazing, and it does not get hot. But the reflection, the two things that really sold me on it, the reflection, like you said about the light, I did not believe it till I actually saw it, because there's so much going on now with the way you can manipulate photographs. And so I can make a photograph look like anything, but until you get out there and actually see it actually work, I can promise you this thing puts off so much light. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't even have to turn my trailer lights on. It put off that much light, but we could tell when we stepped out of that circle you're talking about the warmth and the heat, because we had a rug spread out in front of ours, and we were sitting back 3 or 4 feet away from it, and we were completely warm. But if I had to go to the FJ to get something out or something like that, I told my wife, I said, it's colder out here than what I thought it was, because I've been sitting up there around the fire. And normally when it gets in the 20s, you got to be almost on top of the fire to stay warm. Yeah. But it was in the 20s when we were out there. Everything was freezing. My water that I had in the trailer froze. My sink froze. But when we were sitting outside 3 or 4 foot away from this fire, we were fine. And that was what really sold me on it, was this thing really does what you said it will do.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're not exaggerating any way there. The
bag is really cool.
Yeah, the bag is true military grade. It's double 1000 Cordura with military grade Delron zippers. The material on the bottom isn't actually a Hapalon like what they make Zodiacs out of, but it's very similar. And that's just an extra durable material that's, generally you sit it between your fridge or something in your vehicle. So that's where it bears. But, even the carrying case, you can have a carrying case made for $20, but, these things are, close to $70 just for the carrying case. But it's supposed to be heirloom quality. It's supposed to create memories. It's supposed to allow. There's Graham Cahill. What an awesome guy. What a beautiful
love that guy.
Yeah,
man, I love that guy.
He said he'll pretty much never have a campfire without it. Now, I gave it to him just as a gift and didn't push him to go on his YouTube with it and all that kind of stuff. I think his show is syndicated in some way where he can't just kind of free for all and bring new products in. But on a personal level, he's told me that he'll pretty much never have a campfire without it. He just absolutely loves it.
Now we have a question. Rick wants to know, haven't seen them up close, what holds them up? So explain to us how you set it up and what holds it up, what holds it in place.
So it's 10 gauge aluminum, and it weighs about 27 pounds, or actually exactly 27 pounds. And in a parabolic shape, you can see in Graham's photo here, the side panels are actually almost parallel to each other. So that configuration is more to covet your fire and give yourself a controlled environment for cooking. But when you open that up a few more degrees and create that parabolan shape, it still has an amazing amount of stability. I've had it in 20, 30 mile an hour winds and it doesn't blow over. Having said that, on the outer panels, there are 2 little feet, and the hole that I've drilled in it is the size of a 10-inch Ardox nail.
I don't know if you can see that, Rick.
Yeah, so those are the feet. So if you do feel you want to stake it down, you can. Or when you're blending 2 of them together, you can just put a stick in the ground in that hole. When you blend 2 of them together, you laminate 2 panels together, the one with the caricature of the fire, and then you come out like this. And with those feet, you can stake it down. But they don't fall over. Just intrinsically, the shape that you put it in holds it in place.
Yeah.
Yes.
It held up really well. It stayed there. It did not move. It was It was actually perfect. I think this photo here is what you're talking about, the parabola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're actually really lucky. We're working with a amazing guy. His name's Andre, and he's a cinematographer and a photographer for iCamper and for Claymore. And he got his fire reflector 2 weeks ago, and I think he's going to 10 of the most prominent bucket list places in the U.S., most beautiful places for iCamper and for Claymore. And he's taking photos and video of the fire reflector along the way to give us some content, and also give us his opinion on it, and also just share the product with other people. And he sent me a note, which was pretty nice to hear. He says, Mike, I understand the science behind it. I understand the parabolic arc and all that. But if I really had to describe this to you, I'd use the word magic. I laughed and I said, yeah, well, yeah, it is kind of, it's a culmination of little facts that end up telling a great story, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one picture that I really like, Mike. One that you've got on your Instagram.
Yeah.
Building the community.
So this is a 80-kilometer lake, 80 kilometers by about 6 kilometers across, called Harrison Lake. It's springtime. It's cold out. There's 2-foot rollers on the lake, and my wife and a dear friend of mine, Jesse's wife, Katie, they're sitting about 10 feet in that photo, 10 feet away from the fire reflector, and not dressed particularly warm at all, and having a glass of wine together, and just cozy as a bug in a rug.
Yeah, I think you were explaining to me also that it works as a wind, it kind of breaks the wind up too, in as far as the smoke following you around the campfire and that sort of thing.
Yeah, this phenomenon where it's like people who smoke, as soon as you light your cigarette, the bus shows up, kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? So it's the kind of thing, you're talking your wife into coming out, get out of the tent and come sit by the fire, and next thing you know, the first 5 minutes, smoke in the face, and it doesn't matter where she goes. So this definitely mitigates that spiraling smoke that's out of control all the time. But the other thing is, when you're in the wilderness or when you're overlanding, resources are important. Could be water, could be fuel, could be wood, could be briquettes. And what this fire reflector does is, by mitigating the wind, creating the controlled environment, you're not burning your resources like a blowtorch in the wind, basically. So you put a log on and just blowing and just burning like crazy, and you've got that controlled environment. So it conserves those resources, and that's sort of a big deal. When you're cooking and you're trying to boil a pot of coffee, but it's really, really windy and the pot takes forever to boil, as soon as you can capture that area, create that controlled environment, now your cooking device works so much more effectively.
That's right.
You're right, and it's magical for those of us who cook with Dutch ovens, because that's one thing you have to control is the wind and control the temperature of the oven. So you create yourself, and I think I watched a video from Epic Family Road Trip, and they were actually camped on the beach down in Texas, and they had their setup because they were cooking with Dutch ovens, and that was the way that they controlled the environment in order to cook with it, and it was. It's makes it that much better when you're actually able to control the environment. So
yes,
very cool. Well, I love that. I've actually used it. I know there's people watching who actually haven't seen one of these in person. The hinge panels, the way that it's set up, the way that it reflects light and heat, and all that. Tony and I will always have ours with us. So next time you're camped with us, I guarantee you'll see one. But it does exactly what Mike says it will do. It is something that's very cool, and I was impressed, very impressed with it.
Yeah.
I was impressed with the bag before I even took the thing out. I mean, the bag is impressive itself. It's made very well, so it's pretty neat.
With Sam and myself and Carolyn, what's more important to us than anything is, yes, with the fire reflector, we're not selling a product, we're selling an experience. But It's our brand.
Yeah.
So aluminum prices since we started this project went up 35%. So now the panels are being delivered to my house, and I'm building every one of them myself. It's all aluminum. The hinges are aluminum as well. The pop rivets are aluminum. People ask about the pop rivets and say, why don't you bolt it on? Well, that's why they make planes with rivets, because rivets are the strongest way to fasten two items together and the most reliable. But I build them here myself. I do the quality control. There I am, right there.
Right there.
And I package them and I ship them. So, and like I said, if I can cross the border again soon, I intend to drive through the States and visit as many as the people. First, the people that have been helping us and promoting us. I'd like to say thank you and cook them a nice cast iron dinner of some sort and share a cold one.
Share a campfire.
Yeah, share a campfire for sure.
Huge, yeah.
But
huge, yeah. That's awesome. Well, I look forward to meeting you one day. I'm pretty sure that'll happen. Surely things will get back to normal, whatever that is. I'm not even sure we know what that is anymore. But one of these days it'll get back to normal and we'll be able to travel freely about the planet, and that'll happen. Now, Mike, do you want to share? Here's your opportunity, but do you want to share world premiere? We have a lot of those on this show, so do you want to share anything that you have in the works?
So it was actually shipped today. We only had 9 samples made so far, but our new product is called the Harvester. And the idea of the Harvester is it folds up like an accordion. It's 4 panels that are reinforced with nylon backing, so they have stiffeners in them, and they're 10 inches by 30 inches each. And the outer ones, where you can see the orange in this photo, is actually an envelope. And in that envelope, on one side, you could put your silky saw and your gloves, and the other side, you can put your Swedish axe or machete or whatever your harvesting tool of choice is. And this is not in the folded up configuration, but the folded up configuration, it's completely flat, maybe 1.5 inches thick, 10 inches by 30 inches. And you walk into the forest with your tools. And once you harvest your wood, you put it on the harvester. And even if you had your chainsaw with you, you can also put your chainsaw on top of the wood. When you're done, you can safely put your implements of destruction into those envelopes, put the shoulder strap on, and then you can carry your wood out of the forest safely. Or maybe you're beach combing. You walk on these logs and they're slippery, and you've got an axe in one hand or a saw, and then you've got a shirt, full up with, or you're carrying logs like this. It's just not safe. It's really, really impractical. It makes it, how many times do you say, oh, who's the next person who wants to get wood? Well, we're hoping that we've changed where people aren't going to resist so bad, and they're going to grab the harvester and get out there and pick up their wood safely. And you can carry a ton of wood on that thing. So
that's awesome. I think
that's
cool.
It's at least 2 layers of 1000 cordura. At the envelope, it's probably 4 layers. It's got nylon frame sheets in each panel. So when you're carrying a heavy load and you've got your axe in there, which has the handle, or your saw, and it's rubbing up against your thigh, you don't get those shapes telegraphing through to your leg, where that might be uncomfortable when you're walking with it. So again, it's a bespoke product. It's super high quality. It should last a lifetime at least. It's something unique to the market. It really doesn't exist out there now. So
cool. Very nice.
I get 9 of them. They should be here, I think, within a week. And I'm going to share them with some of our YouTube people and probably one with yourselves. And you guys can go experiment with them. And then what we're thinking of doing is just take pre-orders and see how much interest there is in it, and then make more of a financial commitment, and then have more of them made. Obviously, making a financial commitment to any product when you're making thousands of them, the prices come down. We don't have that luxury right now. We're just a small company. We're trying to make special things. We're not farming it off to Asia. Everything's made. Actually, I have to give a shout out to the last US bag company, because they're the people that are making our carrying case for the original fire reflector. And they're also helped me design, prototype, and get the harvester to where it is today. And I'm really looking forward to getting one in my hand within a week or so.
Wow.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm very excited about that. I think that's gonna be excellent. You know, if you're gonna have a fire reflector, you need to have a fire, and if you want to have a fire, you got to have wood. So they work well together. I think they'll work very, very well together.
Yeah. And I like even when you walk into the forest, you know, you can have your chainsaw in your hand, even if it's got a protector on the blade. You're down to one hand with your chainsaw. With this, you can put your chainsaw inside the harvester even before you've put any wood in it. Put the shoulder strap on, and you can, ingress into the forest safer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Even if you're just picking up limbs off the ground, you can carry just about anything with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you can go beachcombing and pick up rocks and see how much you'll carry. Shiny rocks.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, that's amazing. You've got two amazing products that you're offering to everybody, and one's definitely out there on the market now. And if you're coming to our sponsored event, More Expo, if you're coming to More Expo, I know that there will be at least one vendor there that will have the regional fire reflector that will be there. He will have set up on display, and probably more than one.
So we're going to have Jeremy Byington, who's the owner of New Holland Overland.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's, sorry, I think it's, let me just have a look here. Clayton from Bead Locker USA. Bead Lockers,
yeah.
Plural USA.
Yeah.
He's going to be there as well. And then you guys are going to be there in some capacity, aren't you?
That's right. That's right. We'll have ours set up.
Very cool. So
we will be there. So if you're coming to More Expo, you definitely get your hands on one or get your eyes on one for sure, because you definitely want to see this thing. You don't want to just listen to us talk about it.
That's right.
It's very impressive in person.
Yeah, the thing that's been good and bad for us, but when you understand how it works, you've seen all the photos, you believe in the science, you believe in us and the product. It's really when you've sat in front of it for half an hour and you take it away, that's when you get that exponential light bulb moment. And that's that experience that we're really hoping to exploit. So people really get to. So I'm so grateful, Joey and Tony, to both of you that you get to share your original fire reflector with other people and give them that moment. Because that's the moment where people go, aha, or that's the day the wife says to the husband, yes, I'll go camping with you if you buy one of these. And we're hearing more and more of that, and it's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Carol Van Stralen loves hers for cooking.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago when they were in Texas on the same beach, Peter sent me a message. He says, there's one more thing the fire reflector does, and it's a really important thing. It keeps the sand out of your food.
Yeah, and if you've ever camped on the beach, you know that is an issue. Sand gets in everything, and so I may have it in my bed, I may have it in the seat of my FJ, but I don't want it in my food.
I can't stand one grain of sand in my mouth. Makes me crazy. I don't know how dogs do it. They pick up a tennis ball off a beach that's soaking wet and covered in sand, and they play with it all day long. I don't get that, but I don't think humans are.
We're not.
My dog did that the whole time we were down there. He laid in it. He laid under the FJ, and he's a bulldog, so his tongue is 3 times bigger than his mouth. So every time he lays down, his tongue's on the ground, and he would get up, his tongue would be covered in sand, and I don't know, and Travis says that's why you won't ever catch me camping at the beach. It's different. You got to want to be there. The wind blows all the time and sand gets in everything, but if you do go out there, that's the fire reflector is something that you definitely want to have, because the wind is always blowing and you can't cook anything without sand getting all in your food or blowing your fire out or doing whatever. So
I'm sorry I can't remember his name, but I had one early adopter, one of the first people who bought a fire reflector, reach out to us and said that his dog is mildly insane, and all it ever does is around a campfire is eat sparks. So when they would sit around the campfire, the dog would just be there. Like, how some dogs eat bees and wasps, that's all, they just go after them all day long. Well, this dog would just go after these sparks, and it would make them crazy that, give us some peace and quiet, go away, dog, kind of thing. Then they got the fire reflector, and the dog didn't want anything to do with the fire anymore. He would lay in, he would lay on the carrying case like a bed in front of the fire and just sleep because he loved the heat. And I guess it was just like being at home in a log cabin in front of the campfire or in front of your your fireplace.
He was just trying to tell them that they needed to get a fire reflector.
Well, and one thing that a lot of people don't realize is when we're talking about this fire reflector keeping the wind off the fire, you're also keeping the smoke out of your face, and that is one of the things that drives me absolutely crazy. If you're one of those people like me that the smoke follows you everywhere you go, it don't matter which side of the fire you sit on. If you get one of these, the wind does not blow the fire, it does not blow the smoke, and you don't get smoke in your face the whole time. We did not get smoke in our face one time a few weeks ago when we used this. I mean, it was just everything about it we just loved. And that was when my wife said, okay, we're not leaving this at home. This is there's some things we may trade out, but this is going with us everywhere we go. So
it's actually a safer condition as well. One thing we've noticed is depending on what kind of wood you're burning, sometimes you might put a cedar bough on and then it kind of crackles and you get lots of sparks, but it creates more of a column and the sparks go up vertically, as opposed to being in a campsite. Might be sort of summer conditions, maybe not forest fire season yet, but you still want to be as responsible and considerate as you can for public lands, and so we can keep going out there overlanding and corralling your fire like that and not having the wind corrupt your fire. That's a big deal when you're out in the forest.
Sure is.
It cradles the sparks, it captures them, and it just there's so many different little facets, right? So we'll see what's the next one that somebody thinks of or comes up. But
I love it.
And two, it works. It doesn't have to be around a fire. It can be around one of the propane fire pits too.
It can. And the other thing that it works exceptionally well is if you're a hunter and you have a hunting tent, like a canvas hunting tent with the wood stove in the corner, if you put the fire reflector around that, it'll direct the heat horizontally across the floor, and it's exponential. And you're actually creating a safer condition because the back of this wood stove, and I know most of these tents are fire resistant and stuff, but the back of the wood stove, you can imagine how hot they get. Yeah. They're made of iron. They take a long time to cool down. But now you've created a barrier between the tent and the wood stove. And again, you create light, of course. There's not as much light depending on what type of wood stove it is, but certainly the heat. Right. And if you're drying your clothes and you got a bunch of hunters and your clothes are all wet, it's the only way to do it.
Nice.
Wow. Very cool. So I love it. I think it's amazing, and I think you should try it out, and you'll think it's amazing too. I promise.
That's right.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
So we've about come to our limit. We've come here about an hour and a half. We've been talking about this for a lot. And so really appreciate Mike coming on and telling us about his fire reflector and the new things he's got coming out. Now we have a giveaway that's going on our social media with Overland Spices. Really hope that that everybody goes to our Instagram and checks that out. And
we're getting some feedback somewhere.
Yeah. Somebody's watching TV somewhere. But I really hope everybody goes to our Instagram and looks that up and signs up. It's real easy to do to win some Overland Spices. And tune in next week. We're probably going to come to you live from West Virginia. We're real excited about that. So we're real excited about going to West Virginia, and we're probably going to be sitting around a fire, probably around a fire reflector. Coming to you live from West Virginia, so make sure you tune into that.
Yes.
But anyway, we are excited to bring you this week's guest, Mike Offerhouse.
That's okay.
From the MC Ranch Overland, all the way from Canada. Mike, we sure appreciate you coming on.
Well, I'm very grateful for the invitation, and I'm really, really looking forward for you to meet Sam next time.
Yes.
He's one of these a 14-hour day for him with a construction company he's part owner in. That's a short day, it seems like. And
Yeah.
I really don't remember the last time he had a vacation. And so he's in Maui right now with his wife. And she's a professional, and they're always like two ships that pass in the night. So it's so nice that, they can spend some time together. So I don't begrudge him for not being here. I couldn't do this without him. He's an amazing person. He's a mentor. He's a friend. And, Carol and I consider him part of the family. My boys absolutely love him. They all drink scotch together. And so I really think MC Ranch Overland has some substance because of those people. And I would really like to say thank you to Marco, to Peter and Carol, Epic Family Road Trip, Casey from Coyote Works, Chrome from Van City Van Life, all these people, or Victor from, what's that last one is, Victor, hang on, I don't want to forget Victor here, guys. Victor is Gear into Adventure on YouTube. And these guys are supporting us. And I've never asked them for any favors. They're just doing it out of the kindness of their heart. And God bless them. And you've really been a big help.
Awesome.
Excellent. Well, I'm really glad that you're putting a quality product out there. We are excited that we actually have some to show everybody. So if you're interested in one of these, contact me or Tony, and I guarantee you we'll be camping somewhere. We'll have one set up.
That's right.
But I really hope that everybody takes advantage of the time change. We got a lot more light at the end of the day now. We got warmer temperatures coming. Please, Lord, help us have more warm temperatures coming. And we're going to be getting out there a lot more. And on behalf of Mike and Tony, we appreciate you being here. Appreciate you joining us on the show. Have a great week. Live the best life while you still have time. Look out for number 1 and don't step at number 2. Have an awesome day.
Professor and Friends 2022.
Woo-hoo. Thank you for watching.
Professor and Friends.
Professor and Friends. Joey the Professor and Friends.
Professor and Friends.
Professor